a major new study reflects LGBTQ plus attitudes on states, travel, pride, and who we are. Today, a major new study was released by CMI, Community Marketing and Insights. The comprehensive survey is the 16th annual sample of the LGBTQ plus community. This evening, Queer News Tonight gives you the breaking news of the major results from this nearly 15,000 LGBTQ plus that participated in the survey from across the United States and Canada. The complete report is more than 100 pages. First, America is a less friendly place than a year ago. While 94% of Canadian residents believed Canada is an LGBTQ plus friendly country, only 40% of Americans, LGBTQ Americans, thought the U.S. was a friendly country. States that their residents felt were the most friendly included California LGBT at an astounding 98%. New York was next at 96%, and then Illinois at 91%. All three states, however, were down 1% compared to 2021. The states that were the most unfriendly probably will not surprise you. Only 26% of LGBTQ plus in Georgia thought they lived in a friendly state, but that was still more than Florida, which was only 24%, and the worst state in America is Texas, with only 16% of queer Texans saying their state was friendly to them. Most notable in the study was Florida. It had the biggest single drop of any state in America in the last 12 months, a jaw-dropping decline of nearly 20%. It likely reflects LGBTQ Floridians' attitudes toward Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, conservative GOP, Don't Say Gay, and the state's fight with companies like Disney. Second note, pride may not necessarily be proud. Only 53% of our community thought corporate presence at LGBTQ pride events was positive for the community. Conversely, corporate support increases to 87% for businesses that openly support equality legislation and 82% that support its LGBTQ plus employees and speaks out against discrimination. The CMI notes in a video call with Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network today that rainbow capitalism is a major topic of this Pride Month. The survey, however, was completed before June Pride Month began, and the companies that have, quote, gone above and beyond to show genuine, authentic support of the LGBTQ community, end quote, were Apple, Disney ABC, Target, Google, Subaru, and Wells Fargo. Third, LGBT may not be satisfied with our own community. While 95% said they had pride in being a member of the LGBTQ community, only 38% definitely agreed that they feel supported by that same LGBTQ community, and only 26% feel connected to LGBT social and political organizations. Fourth, our relationship status may surprise you. 39% report that they are single, and a surprising 27%, only 27%, report that they are married, with the balance in different types of relationships. Fifth, your politics. 75% of LGBTQ say they are liberal, 14% say they are moderate, and 4%, only 4%, say they are conservative. Sixth, you still live in big or medium-sized cities. 91% of our entire community live in big or medium-sized cities in America or in the suburbs, while just 9% identify in small towns or rural communities. Despite media reports to the contrary, there is no significant migration from cities to rural communities. Seventh, what we call ourselves is changing. 70% of us now use LGBTQ as our principal representation. 68% now say that LGBTQ plus is also our representation. And the latter of LGBTQ plus is growing fast, and CMI suggests today it will likely become the top representation of our community in the 2023 survey. Also growing is acceptance of queer at 53%, but the smallest acceptance of our community is LGBTQIA+, and the word gay. Eighth, we are traveling. A gigantic number of us are or will travel. Interestingly, the number of LGBTQ that will travel to big cities like Los Angeles, New York, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami has doubled in the last year and is a reflection of our growing confidence post-pandemic. Perhaps even more surprising is that a full 28% of all LGBTQ will travel internationally, and Europe is the overwhelming first choice. Ninth, do you feel safe? 87% of LGBTQ feel safe in traveling, even on an airplane, while 77% feel safe dining indoors, 72% safe in attending an indoor concert, and dramatically higher than a year ago. And finally, 10th, our top health concerns may surprise you. COVID-19 is no longer a major concern in the LGBTQ community. For LGBT, our number one health concern is depression, anxiety, and other mental health concerns. Heart issues, healthy body weight, and preventing HIV also were high on this list. This is just a snapshot of the complete CMI Community Marketing Insights of 2022 survey, released just today, and complete details can be seen at cmi.info.
Wow. Florida. Wow.
That's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers. I think it's interesting. 4% of us identify as conservative. I thought that we made a lot more money than that.
That's a good joke.
That's a good joke. I think some of the health concerns, though, are things like that weren't mentioned there, but meningitis is a big concern, especially in Florida. There's been a major outbreak of that particular disease.
And monkeypox.
And monkeypox, yeah. So, but
our leader in education of monkeypox. Yeah.
But
what's the most significant thing in what we report on here in CMI? What surprised you the most? Anything?
That so many people are dissatisfied with the support from our community. We were starting to get into that a little bit when we were talking before we started the show tonight. But then the more I thought about it, and this is a 100-page report, so I'm looking forward to spending the holiday weekend just digesting this and writing it up.
And a writer from SFGM would do that.
Right.
But I think a lot of it, we look at, because we're a bubble here in Florida, Wilton Manors and emanating outwards.
And at this table.
Yeah. But we are all basically probably more supported by our community than other people. But you have to remember, in Detroit, there's a huge Black LGBT community, and they may not be feeling supported by the white community out in Royal Oak or from other parts of the state. So it's not just about is the L supporting the G. It can also be about just supporting each other, because there's still racial segregation here in Florida. You just look at any community meeting that happens. It's very visible. So when people say they're not supported by their community, it may not just be one letter of the acronym to the other.
For me, a couple of I'm sorry, were you going to add something?
No, go on.
For me, a couple of standout moments. First, the pandemic's over. This survey proves beyond a shadow of doubt that at least for LGBT, we've moved on. We feel safe, we feel comfortable, we're traveling as a result, we're visiting our big cities again. The number of visits to big cities versus small areas, they noted in the interview, or in the online participation from happening out in hotspots today, that Palm Springs benefited significantly, being a small community in the midst of pandemic a year ago or the year before that, but definitely in the last year. And now it's big cities that LGBT are visiting. That is all a reflection that we're okay. We feel okay. Masks are not a big challenge to put in front of LGBT, and we're traveling. I think that is big news for every business, pride, organization, our social life, our bars. We're back. There's no question about it. This survey, in my opinion, proves that. The other thing that is incredibly distressing to me is what we think about our business participation in our Pride events. The number of a very significant number that think it's actually negative.
The corporate.
The corporate
input
participation.
participation.
We've talked about rainbow. We're here at the last moments, hours of June Pride Month, and we've talked about rainbow capitalism over and over again. This survey helps point us in the right direction, that there's really something to what we're talking about, that much of the LGBTQ community has similar attitudes of, it's not just buying an ad, it is not just verbally slapping rainbow colors on a product and say you're supporting the community. There is very specific factual numbers here showing, no, we really don't care about that. And in fact, a significant number of us think it's negative. What it should be is what you're doing to help support all year, anti-discrimination, how you're voicing up, how you're supporting your LGBTQ community employees. That is way more important. And I hope lots of people pay attention to this CMI report, because that is an important issue. And then the third big issue here is exactly what you just said. 95% of us are proud to be LGBTQ, but only 38% believe that we're even supporting ourselves. Only 20-some%, I think it was 23%, feel any connection to our social organizations and our political organizations. If we don't feel kindred to our social organizations and our community, how do we enhance our own LGBTQ community? And perhaps even worse, if we don't feel association with our LGBTQ political organizations, how do we win elections? How do we stop Donald Trump appointments in the Supreme Court? How do we get the Equality Act? How do we stop the reversal of sodomy laws? How do we prevent the loss of gay marriage? It's an ominous warning that we're disconnected. We're proud of who we are, but we're completely disconnected. And I think that that is a very significant red light flashing in front of us that we should all pay attention to.
You know, is it escapism? Is that what we're doing? Because I'm thinking about the travel comments, and we're going to Europe, right? We're going to places where our communities are supported. Europe is much more friendly to the LGBTQ community than many states in the US. So if we're going there, are we just trying to run away from it?
Interesting. Your point is interesting. I suspect you're probably onto something. Another thing that I think is a big red flashing light, 94% of Canadian LGBT think their country cares about them.
Right.
Only 40% of us,
That's a very low number.
40% of our community thinks our country cares about us.
And you hearken back to stories we just had just a few moments ago about how is our community becoming divided. And this is another point, because if you're feeling the community feels divided, then you're one of the people in that divided segment, then you're not going to feel supported.
Exactly right. You know, one final note, and then we'll move on. I applaud CMI for doing this. It's been a long-term commitment, the 16th year, I believe, that they've done this, but it's really, really important for our community, because we anecdotally consume information about our community. And where do we consume it? From MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, if you hate us, or wherever. This is zeroing right in of what we think about what's going on in the world and what's important to us. And CMI is taking the extra step to make sure that they're documenting their methodology is accurate of trying to get our pulse. And that is the way to realize what are our big problems and what are going to be the solutions to solve those problems. I applaud CMI for doing that. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.